Hi, and welcome to the Ascension Playground, a fun forum designed to lighten us all up together. Come join Anne-Marie and I as we navigate the new Earth energies and prepare ourselves for Ascension. So, from our hearts, I invite each of us to call in our inner child. And let's play together as we discuss all things metaphysical, interdimensional, and galactic. So as I mentioned, my special guest on the playground today is Anne-Marie, or Angel Star Rising. And this is our second chat together. The first chat we had, we were really looking at that Star Seeds Astrology Calculator by Julia Balaz. And we thought we would go a little more deeply into Maya Angelou's amazing galactic heritage report through this Astrology Seeds report. So without further ado, hey Anne-Marie.
Hey Ursula, thanks for inviting me back to the playground.
Yay! Well, here we are, and I bet people are wondering what that image is behind you.
Oops, I gotta get it right. Yeah, it's
there
backwards from where. This is Andromeda.
Yay.
Yeah.
So is it correct? Because I know you are the star watcher. You know, you and I today, again, our second time, we climbed up the highest part of the tallest slide in the playground. And you, my friend, you've got the telescope, right? And you're a stargazer.
I do love looking at the stars, the ones that I can see. I wish I could see more from my little house here in Dallas, but yes, I do love looking up.
When you were a kid, did you always like looking at the stars?
I did, but I didn't know where, like I didn't know any of the constellations. I just loved like looking up and seeing, you know, I don't know, it was like a sense of wonder and just, you know, what's out there? What are those shiny little things up there? So. Oh.
No, I used to like with Pinocchio, you know, like wishing on a star.
Yeah.
With Jiminy Cricket.
Yes.
Yeah, and the blue star angel lady, you know, and making wishes if you see a shooting star.
Yes,
so yeah, look at that.
Definitely. Shooting stars I definitely had many nights where I would look for the shooting stars and make wishes on them. Yeah.
Aw. Yeah. And the reason we've got Andromeda featured behind you is because when we looked at Maya Angelou's natal starseeds astrology report, I counted out 10 connections that she had throughout her report to Andromeda. So I thought, let's just test this for accuracy. So on a playground, you know, don't believe what anyone tells you. You try it out and see if it works for you or not. So without further ado, let's look at Andromeda and what we know as far as a constellation. I'm going to just share a little bit and then you jump on in as I move around. But back in the 2nd century, there was this guy named Ptolemy, Ptolemy, hard word to say, but he was an astronomer and he included the constellation of Andromeda in with one of the 48 constellations way back in the 2nd century. Okay, but before that, oh my God, in the Babylonian times, like way back, the same stars were called the Lady of Heaven. And I just love that idea, Lady of Heaven, you know, and she was like the fertility goddess. But it seems like they always looked up in those days and everything became like fertility. Please give us rain, give us babies, you know, bring us food. So that's a little bit of background on, it's one of 48 constellations that Ptolemy called out. There, you know, you may not know this about me, but I love Greek myth and I love the stories. I don't know, would you like to hear the story of Andromeda?
Absolutely.
Well, to do that, I'm going to need to ask you to please change it to the next image. There she is, not looking too happy. So you took the constellation, and to remember how to navigate some of the stars, they became fictional characters, oftentimes with heroes' journeys or stories. So just in case anyone on the playground wants to know, what's Andromeda's deal? I mean, look at her. She's chained. She's got one boob showing, and she's not looking happy. So what's the deal? So I did a little research, and I found out the name Andromeda, she was the daughter of a woman named Cassiopeia. So she, in the realm of all things, she was kind of like high up there. There's Cassiopeia, that's her mom. Okay, well, her mom, thought her daughter was so beautiful. So, oh, my daughter's so beautiful, that she started bragging. And when you start bragging about your daughter, she said, my daughter's more beautiful than these sea nymphs. Well, the sea nymphs became haters, and they said, you know what, that's not fair. We're going to go talk to Neptune or Poseidon and say, you know what, she thinks her daughter, her human daughter, is more beautiful than we, the sea nymphs. So would you please just go wreak havoc on Cassiopeia, the king, and their family in Ethiopia? So Poseidon sent Cetus. I know it's hard to imagine, but Cetus was the sea monster, and he went and started wreaking havoc. Yeah, you can see Cetus. Well, you're kind of sitting in front of it. There it is.
Down there somewhere.
So the sea monster started wreaking havoc. So the queen, Cassiopeia, and the husband said, well, what can we do? Well, you got to sacrifice your beautiful daughter, Andromeda. And so they said, okay, let's chain her to a rock so Cetus can eat her. And like, there's some really serious family issues going throughout our history. So here she is, half naked, waiting to be eaten. And then Perseus, who's also within the constellation area.
He's up at the top there.
Yeah, Perseus, he comes and he saves her. He tells Cetus to scram, or he kills the sea monster, and then he marries Andromeda, and they had babies, and the story continues. But interestingly enough, how Neptune or Poseidon and this constellation, which is in Pisces, see how it says Pisces Borealis?
I'll figure out this right or left thing here.
I know, there, you're doing it. You're like the Vanna, and here.
Vanna White, except for I don't know my right from my left.
Hey, you and me both. But isn't it interesting? We start learning about the stars, and we look up like we are from our highest part of the slide, and it's like, oh my God, there's that story and that figure and that figure. So someone took pity on Andromeda's story. So when she died physically on Earth, they allowed her to go and become a constellation. And so that's why you see the chains, and so what's the story behind Andromeda? If your mom brags about you, someone's going to have to pay. And it's usually the god of the sea, which is meaning emotional turbulence, the emotional stuff, because water represents our emotions. That's all I got.
Stuff too. And today's the first day of Pisces season too. So the sun moved into Pisces this morning. Yeah.
See, Anne-Marie, you really are. You're tracking those stars, and I love it. Anything else you see with Andromeda? I think.
You said that way back in the Babylonian times, she was the lady in heaven, and so she is definitely that. She's chained up there as the lady in heaven.
Yeah, it's interesting, the roles of woman. You're either a fertility goddess or you're the maiden in distress. I think it's time to reinvent in 2022 how we look at the stars and redefine a woman. So I don't want to get off the track too far, but we do see Andromeda showing up so much with Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
And before we go to so this, looking at the stars and then looking at the story and the myth, it led us to this conversation of, when we look at Maya Angelou's Starseeds report, can we get any hints of, did she bring back some of this energy, the Star Nation qualities with her in her last incarnation as Maya Angelou? I mean, this incredible African American with oppression and this idea of I can take everything that's happened to me and still I'm going to rise because you can't hold me down. Maybe that constellation needs to be called Maya.
Oh.
Like no one's talking me down from my joy, you know?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to pause. Anything that you want to say before we go into some galactic kind of like creepy pictures?
The creepy picture?
Well, you
Is it time
know,
for the creepy picture?
well, before we go there, is there anything that comes up for you around Maya or?
Well, I think the idea of someone, yeah, that doesn't fall into, like, makes a way for themselves and doesn't fall into what's expected of them, and can tell when someone's manipulating them, and is keenly aware of that and rises above it and holds that higher vibration. I think those are all Andromedan type qualities, and I see those in Maya for sure.
My heart just opened when you said that. You know, it's a message for everybody on the playground. I mean, imagine, okay, we're our 7-year-old selves and we're playing, and at 7, we're thinking we're all equal.
Right.
You know what I mean? We are just kids playing, and we might feel better with these friends and not those people, or, you know, we find a way, and we're kind of innocent to this idea of, you know, how we get segregated or put ourselves in certain segregated areas of
Right.
where we think we feel comfortable as an adult. Like I have to live on this side of the tracks, not that side. And that feels like it's up today. Definitely up in many ways.
Yeah.
So Andromeda. So I know there's a difference between Andromeda the galaxy and Andromeda the star. Have you ever heard of those kind of?
I've heard the difference between the constellation and the galaxy. The galaxy is what's right here, what we're looking, what's behind me here. And then the constellation was the lady, the chained lady. She's just a portion of the galaxy. Like the galaxy is the biggest part, and then the constellation is a part of that. Like our solar system is part of the Milky Way, which is our galaxy. So it's just one part of. And then we have, of course, the because and the Andromeda Galaxy is the closest one to our Milky Way. So we have that.
So the Andromeda Galaxy is what we're seeing behind you. That swirl.
Yes.
It's, I looked it up, it's rather spiralic or a spiral. I'll just say kid terms. It's a spiral, it's not a circle, but it's, you see the rings. So this idea of walking a spiral, there must be some connection to a constellation. I'm sorry, a galaxy, a whole galaxy is spiraling. I mean, we can see it. That's not photoshopped.
No. But ours is as well. The Milky Way is a spiral as well. There's, I mean, like the Milky Way and Andromeda are like two spirals that are moving toward each other, and will then, because that's the way I imagine space works, is there's like the central energy, like for us, it's the galactic center. That's, you know, that's our massive black hole there. That's everything else is spinning around it, like a whirlpool, you know, pulling in toward that center.
Never had anyone explain that to me. So when I look up our black hole that we call the galactic center, we've got our Milky Way galaxy traveling around this black hole. Is that correct?
Yes, and our solar system is in what's called the Sagittarian arm of our galaxy. So it's like one of, like you see these arms on the spiral. And so ours is just on one of those arms of our galaxy, to imagine it like that one. So it's, yeah, the idea of us being the only living, this planet being the only planet that has living beings on it is just You just can't, you don't have the view of how small and insignificant we are compared to the vast infinity of space. You know?
Love what you just said. It reminds me of like reading Horton Hears a Who, the
Yeah,
Dr. Seuss's
exactly,
book.
yes.
You know, here's Horton, the
Yeah.
elephant in the field, and here's
Here's a who.
it's on this little daisy or this, I don't know, like a blossom.
Yeah.
But because I love words, I just want to make sure I'm clear in my brain. So there's a difference between a galaxy, which is big, and then you have
Mhm.
constellations within the galaxy. And then
Right.
those constellations are made up of stars.
Solar systems, yes.
Oh,
And so then you got the solar system, then would be the star, but our solar system, solar being sun, being our star, and then the system around it is our planets. And so each star could have planets going around it. We don't know because we're hoping with this new telescope out there, the James Webb telescope, will be able to see more of these things. But, you know, to think of the stars, people don't live on stars. There's not races that live on stars. Those are the sun for their solar system. So each, like Alpheratz in Andromeda, is a star that may or may not have planets around it that then races of ETs could live on,
you know,
like we live on Earth.
I'm going to have to invite you to a campfire and we can get our s'mores out and some marshmallows, and you'll have to show me. Okay, this marshmallow is the sun that we see, you know, and then show me how it all fits together, because I think I'm understanding, but I'll forget later. So you have to remind me. But oh, I'm so glad you know this. I didn't take astronomy.
I didn't either. This is all just in the past year that I've been learning all of this. So it's just, I mean, I can remember, like, I just thought, okay, well, how does it work? How does it work? What, you know, what are we talking about here? You know?
Yeah.
So
well, there's a wonderful organization called genekeys.com, GENE keys. And their founder, Richard Rudd, is a poet, philosopher. And he was saying something quite magical about how our black hole for us, the galactic center, all the stars and planets pull their energy from that black hole. Like this is where they are nourished. And then they shine and radiate out their light. So I always look at our sun and think it's radiating, but I never thought, where does it get its potency, or will it just fizzle out over time? But this magical story about we're pulling from the void, the black hole, the galactic center, to energize and innervate our planets, our stars.
Yeah,
it's mind-blowing.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's move to the next subject, going back to Maya Angelou and finding that she has 10 Andromedan. Now we would call these, since it's starseeds astrology, it's when we see an Andromedan connection, we think not the galaxy, but the constellation. So let's see that constellation, that picture of, you know, the maiden. There she is.
Yes.
So there's a particular star using this system with Julia Balaz, looking at Maya's report, that it's conjunct Alpheratz.
That's right up by her ear.
Her
You
ear.
can see it says
Alpheratz.
If I try to point to it, I'm going to point to it the wrong way. So
I see it. It's up by her ear. Yep, you're doing it.
There.
So when we read this, or you decide to, if you decide to look at your own personal one, viewers, then when you see the word Andromeda, it'll usually show you if it's next to a particular star. In her case, I see Alpheratz, Almach, or Almac. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Almac is. And sometimes they're like the Greek letters, like Beta Alpha Andromeda, or, you know, it's like they don't have an actual name, but they show like Epsilon is right here.
Yeah.
And
yeah, watch out for her nipple.
I know. I'm avoiding everything.
That's why you're pointing.
It's like, and if people don't understand that, to get this to look right for you, it has to be backwards for me. And that's why I'm
I
like,
need new visual imagery for redefining Andromeda. I don't want to be the chained princess. The empowerment piece. So maybe it's Maya Angelou. So I think we're ready to look at the next picture. So if you think you're in an Andromedan star seed, and the word star seed could mean something like old soul, star people. You might look human, but if you're primarily Andromedan, you might have a specific mission here on Earth that's related to ascension or our awakening. Anything you want to share about those purple people behind you? And I was saying to you earlier how you kind of look like one of them with that beautiful hair of yours, like do the profile.
if my hair was straight today, it would, but it's like curly today. I struggle sometimes with some of these descriptions, because if you say Andromedans are, and then start listing, it seems to be pigeonholing a little bit, because I mean, if you just think about the humans on Earth in our solar system, if we were all lumped into one, what would that description be? I mean, we've got so many different countries that have so many different personality traits. I guess though we are hybrids of all of these things. So, I mean, I haven't figured all of that out yet. Like, are they pure? Are they pure? Are these purple people pure to specific characteristics, And how do they show up in us? How do they? Like, yeah.
So this is, we'll just put a disclaimer. This is just a test. We're just testing to see if some of these hypotheses, because the whole joy of life for me is imagining beyond the known world. Like, how boring to just stay within a certain pot. So as an artist, it's always looking at, how do you broaden your field of view, of vision? So I looked up 10 traits for people to consider if you wonder if have an inclination towards what we would call the metaphor of an Andromedan nature. I have 10 traits I could zip through, but I think the biggest thing is understanding from a star nation perspective. Andromeda is of the high vibrational 12th dimension, and they are beyond the timeline of the 3rd and 4th dimension, where we're still fighting with duality and polarity. Would you agree to that?
And all the right, and that's where the differences all come in for us here on Earth, the humans, where we've got some over here in this camp and some over here in this camp, and it's because we're stuck in that 3rd dimension.
There's 2 things coming up for me. One is what Cryon said. It's like making a soup. You can't really pull out the salt without, once your soup is made.
Once it's in there, you can't.
We're kind of the soup of stardust, right? In experiences.
Yeah.
But when someone has 10 connections to Andromeda, you got to kind of wonder, that might be fun to track and see. So I can read.
That's a lot of salt.
A lot of salt. And the purple people, when you look at the rainbow, violet is like one of the highest frequencies, so we see the violet flame of Saint Germain to help with healing, right? Or ascension. Yeah. So when I think of Andromedan, I think, okay, and they're not singular. It's not like one Andromedan. It's typically a collective. So if you find out in your chart that you have a strong Andromedan, like repeat connection to that star nation, then these traits that I'm going to list out real quick might be interesting enough for you to go off the playground and go to the library and just look for yourself on Google, right? We're just trying to provoke and inspire thinking.
Tempt you to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, open your mind to the idea, and then who knows what will come in. So.
I know. And, we're not trying to activate any fear. Instead, it's more loving. It's like, know yourself,
Right.
Why hasn't it?
And the understanding of it, understanding is the antidote to fear. So
let's get smarter while we play.
Yeah, let's open ourselves up to more understanding, so that we don't have, because when we don't know something, that's when the fear comes in. So
okay, well, here's my little footnotes, and you jump in. First of all, the Andromedans are very beautiful people. They're just gorgeous on a galactic view. They may look strange to us, but they carry a certain emanation of beauty. When I heard Maya Angelou on YouTube speak like an oracle, her "And Still I Rise" poem, it's like she looked so beautiful, like in a powerful beauty, like, oh.
Right.
So some of the umbrella characteristics of Andromedans are, yes, they're beings of light, but they're usually working with some type of new technology. And their focus is typically on holistic healing. You don't have to be a chiropractor. You don't have to be an acupuncturist. I could look at my, art as a potential healing bridge. So new technologies, holistic healing, they really don't mind science. Sounds kind of like you, Anne Marie, and then their focus is on bringers of peace. So if you tune into that, what does peace feel like? Like in all the chaos of today and the news and everything going on globally, the bringers of peace are needed perhaps more than ever. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, I don't want to bore people with going through 10 things, but here we go. I'll do it fast. I'll do it fast. If you think you are Andromedan, 10 top traits, according to a Google article I just found, and I'll put it in the notes. 1, you have a good balance with your masculine and feminine energy. Why? Because you already have experienced 12th dimension and you're rather angelic up there. So you're neither male or female. You're not even singular, you're a group. So you're angelic-ish. So masculine, feminine energy, that's not male, female. It's just that masculine, feminine energy within each of us.
And it's like androgynous. It's kind of Andromeda, androgynous. The words are very similar. So.
I wish I need one of these little horns. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, that's a great idea. I didn't even look at it. See, this is why we do the chit chat. So Andromeda, and you made the connection with androgynous. So don't be afraid of your androgyny, people. You're getting higher.
Right. I also heard, what is her name? The one that talks with Pam Gregory.
Raka Goldman.
Raka, yes, she said that too. She said as our energy is going higher, that we will become more androgynous, because we balance out the two.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're supposed to be going from like carbon-based, according to Cryon, to more crystalline and in our cellular structure. Okay, number 2.
Okay.
Andromedans, androgynous Andromedans crave freedom. Nobody's holding me down. Sure sounds like Maya, right? Like you can blah, 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 but I rise, blah. Okay. Thirdly, even though you might appear confident outside, many Andromedans may still be dealing with self-love issues. Like you never meet that person that thinks they know it all, want, and you're very confident, but behind the curtain, oh, am I, that whole fear and do I love myself? I don't know, like, so that mask of confidence, if that rings true. That was the 3rd trait. The 4th trait is a strong connection to nature and water. I love water.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm Andromedan. Let's see. Number 5, you love to travel. Okay. Number 6, you are an innate teacher and guide. I've already, okay. And then number 7, you are creative and logical. When I read that, it's like, okay, so the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, the masculine, the feminine, balancing those energies. You can be creative, which is right side. Here's my right hand. And then logical, left side. So bringing both together, you can work both creatively and logically. Number 8, typically there's a fascination for ancient civilizations. Ooh, let's all go to Egypt. 9, you don't feel compelled to control people. Instead, you really want to be of service. I think if you ask my kids, they wouldn't think I'm Andromedan. I kind of like hover over them. Hey,
Wow.
is your room clean? Hey, you know, they're older now, but I think they'd kick me off the Andromedan list. And lastly, number 10, they desire to live off the grid. I mean, I know that's not me because I like my running water and toilet and heat, but they like to live off the grid because they're systems busters. Let's bust that system and make it better, because in the 12th dimension, you know, it's pretty amazing. You're floating, you're unified, you're angelic, you're beautiful, you're a team. Then you come down here to the 3rd dimension, and again, you're trying to bring peace, but you're still human as well. So any comments?
Well, listening to the characteristics, and as I was reading them earlier too, the idea of the Aquarian archetype, the Uranus archetype, and the fact that Alpheratz is this star that the sun was at with this new Leo full moon that just happened. Alpheratz was the sun was at that. That's an Aquarian point in the system. And so, and also it sounds a lot like 9th house people, you know, wanting to travel and wanting to, you know, learn more in that technology idea, but very Aquarian and very 9th house for this solar system. So it's like,
Yeah, and didn't you just say earlier, and I could be wrong, that our system is part of a Sagittarian?
part of the Sagittarian arm of our galaxy. Yes.
So freedom, travel,
Mhm.
bringers
Yes.
of the light and peace.
Mhm.
I think you're onto something. I don't know anyone else tracking the fixed stars with astrology. Do you know what I mean? The way that you do. And I'm on top of the slide with you going, oh my God. So if you don't mind, why don't we come back and if we've piqued anyone's interest, let's show folks how to use that Julia Balaz Starseeds Astrology Calculator that is free. It's not an end all for all your questions, but it might just be the beginning place to understand, am I
Sure.
Andromedan, Lyran, any of these other star nations that keep seeming to pop up now in the collective? How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Better
This
ask
is fun.
Augie. Ask Augie.
What do you think,
Augie,
Boggs?
do you
What
want
do
to
you
keep playing with us? Maybe Augie's the Andromedan. Okay. Well, thank you so much for playing. I
You.
feel like I learned a ton from you.
Yeah, and I from you. Yes. This is great. And I hope you all learned something too.
Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye, Anne Marie.
Bye-bye.